Good evening, everyone, or good morning if you are in the west side of the world. I'm really glad to be here again. We have started these live streams last week with the 17 days of Flutter. The idea of these live streams were to work on this grocery item app or like shopping list app that we created for AWS Amplify. And first thing that we did was we have shown a way to do this tutorial going by one, and you would be able to see what we have achieved. And the second thing that we started to do, like we have done, I think two live streams so far. This is the third one to show you how you can add a state management library and refactor your code in a way that it actually serves the purpose for you. What we did is so far we have used the block library from Felix Angelo to add the state management. And we have done a lot of progress with adding and finalizing the groceries. And let me share my screen really quickly and add myself to here so you can see it. So right now, so far what we did is, what we're missing right now is we will get rid of the items list that we have. This is the first thing that we are going to do today. We will add more qubits, like we're missing a qubit here. We are missing qubits for this one and this one as well. And last but not least, we will take care of a couple of fine tuning of the application by disposing the qubit that we created or seeing why do we create a grocery list twice. And hopefully we will be done with these stuff today. And when we are done with this, my plan, my goal is to actually do some UI fine tuning because right now it looks hella ugly. So one thing to also write is that, let me move this to here as a new step because this is a different issue. This is an issue about how we lay out the UI, and you can see that it's actually quite straightforward, quite like common error. All right. One thing to remind you about is that this live stream is for you. I'm here for you. So you can ask your questions in the meantime, wherever you are. If you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, you can just write your question as a comment. I will be checking out the comments in the meantime. And whenever you have a question, I will stop what I'm doing, answer your questions, and continue with the live stream as well. So, first things first, for getting rid of the grocery list that I have here, one thing is for sure. I have this function that I use to get the current grocery item here. So I need to get rid of this. And for getting rid of this, I need to have a qubit to feed me this information. So first thing that I'm going to do is I will say current grocery, all right? And I will move this to here, okay? It says, it's okay, it doesn't matter. So this is what we have here. Next thing that we are going to do is we will create a qubit. The qubit was the simpler version of the block, as you might remember. It will come with a state object, and we will use these state objects to actually feed the information to our UI. So to create a new qubit, we created like right click here, and now we have a qubit class. This comes from the plugin that has been created for us on IntelliJ IDEA as well. So in case you want to see what the name of the plugin is, we need to go to the plugin side, and in the plugins you can see that there's something called block. So you can download this to be able to use it in your applications. So let's go back and write current grocery list. Okay. So once we write this one, it is going to create a qubit and a state object for me. That is completely great. So in the other states, you can see that we had an initial state, the loading state, the error, and the success state. And another important point is we have used a library called Equitable. It is also a library from Felix to take care of the hash code and the equals override operations. So what we need to do is we need to use the same pattern that we have here in this application so we can actually like follow along what we have. So let's go back to our state, and in the state I was just get rid of this one because we are not going to use qubit and we are not going to use meta. These are from the older versions of these libraries. So I will just go back here and say extends equitable, okay? And the equitable start with a capital E. All right, now that we have a equitable, you can see that I have the initial state. One thing that, why doesn't it work? Let me refresh the data analysis tool so it can show me that something is wrong here. Perfect, because I'm here, I will just import the library, and you can see that it's going to ask me to override a list of objects, which is the props. Props is the list of items that we have in our classes. So a list of all the properties that we have needs to be part of this props. So when we compare the objects, they are going to be compared according to the variables that we have. Next thing that we will have is it is going to be loading, because we will load some data and it will have a loading state. We get a water. And the next thing is we will have an error state, right? The error state will be returning us an error message. And you can see that the error message will be going inside the props, and we need to create a structure to have the reference of this error message in our application. And lastly, we will have the success state, and we will say class current grocery list success, extending from current grocery list state, not from the qubit, and it is going to have a new item called final grocery. And I will say current grocery here. And let me copy this, do this, and say current grocery. And we will have the props to have the current grocery. One thing to mention here is that the items that you're going to be adding here should be also aware that these objects should need to be aware that they need to have a reference to the hash code and equals. Normally, all objects has this, so you can override it, but like naturally, it doesn't work that way. When you create a new object, it is not going to compare it according to the property values that it has. It is actually going to work according to the references or the decision that you do to compare equals and so on. And in the object side of Dart, or like any other object-oriented languages, it is going to compare the location or the values that it has according to the memory or according to the calculation that it has. So in case you want to use it, what you need to do is you can check out here. It just use the hash code to just turn every item that we have here, you can see it here, into the hashcode version of it. And this hashcode comes from the string part, so string also takes care of it for us. All right, so now that we have all the states, what we need to do is we need to, of course, get rid of this and move this inside the qubit, because that's not doing any good for us right now. Okay, so I will just import every important part for me. I will just take care of everything that I need to do. So, and we were planning to get rid of the items anyway, so I will just get rid of the items, and we will call the run mutation creation. has failed. Okay, so we have created a new function, and this function is literally the same function that we had earlier on. Let me get rid of these comments, so and like split these things into different layers so you can see what's going on. And you can see that this function is expected to return a grocery. So far, so good. What we need to do is we will just get rid of this. So we are not going to return anything. What we are going to do is we are going to use our state object as a reference. And if I go back to my current grocery list page here, what I need to do is I will also get rid of this because this is not doing me any favors. Okay. So everything is going nice. Everything is going great. What we need to do is now we need to actually use the block builder. The block builder is going to be taking a reference out of this like qubit, the state. So what we need to do is first we will say late final current grocery qubit. Okay. Actually, I would say current grocery qubit and do this. So what I do here is that I'm using the late keyword, and this late keyword is going to initialize this variable in the moment that we created. So until it is created, it's not going to be used. And more importantly, we need to dispose this variable and close its stream that it provides, because the blocks or qubits behind the scenes, they actually use streams. If you check out the block builder, let's check out the block builder quickly. You can see that stay streamable, not this one. Block builder here, block builder base. And if I go to the block builder base, it will go for block listener. In the block listener base, I'm going to show you something really important. That's why we are going too deep. So do not feel like you're getting lost here. We are going to the stream builder. So we have a stream here out of this block. And basically block builders are using actually like stream builders behind the scenes. Like it has the streamable here. And if I go to streamable, it uses a stream. So this class itself defined as streamable. And if I go to like build, we have the builder here that is used. Hold on. Exactly, block builder base here. And the block builder base. Interesting. Let me check out this one. This got more complicated than it was before. So we have the build with child here, and probably this build with child is happening around single child state. All right, anyway, let's not waste any time. So long story short, I will share later on an image of this so you can see how I went through this process. So long story short, this is actually using a stream builder behind the scenes. Anyway, so let's get rid of this block builder here at this very moment. And we will say that this block builder is going to have a current grocery list qubit, and it is going to have a reference to the state object of this as well. Another point is it is going to be block from now on, and we will say that this is going to be current grocery qubit. Okay. So you can see that we have a builder. The builder is actually not the snapshot, but it's going to be state right now. And we will say that if the state is loading state, like loading state, then we will return this. If it is the error state, so current grocery is error state, then what we need to do is we will return a text of item. Like it's not going to be. So we will just say center child and say text state error message. So this is going to be our next one. And last but not least, we will have the else statement that we're going to be using around here. So let me get rid of this and let's define the variables and say state that. So this state can be a success state or the state can be the initial state right now, right? So if the state is the success state or the initial state, we will call this the loading state. That is why what I'm going to do now is actually I'm going to get all of this and say current grocery success. If it is this case, then I'm going to do this. If not, in the else scenario, just show me this. And I will say that state that current grocery will be the grocery item right now. Okay, so right now it is going to be using like the current grocery items and everything. And we have some errors with the items. I'm just going to take care of that. I will just remove these stuff. I don't need them anymore. Not anymore, but I don't want to need them anymore. So what I'm going to do is I will just say grocery dot items here. Say it's going to okay. If it is null, I'm going to say that just like send an empty list. Get rid of this one. Or we will just say that if equals null or grocery items is empty, then we have a problem, like then we actually have a problem. So if it is null or if it's not null, but if it's empty, then we will show this. And hold on. What does it do? It says remove parentheses in here. No. Okay, exactly. Perfect. So in this case, I already know that I have items here, so I can just do this. All right. So we have items here that we defined and everything. So let's go back to our qubit because we didn't use the states yet. In the qubit, how you use the state is like this. What you need to do is you need to say emit current grocery loading. Okay, you know what it does? It says, okay, now I'm in the loading state. When you see in your screen, you will react to it. And the second thing that you're going to do is you are going to say that emit grocery success state. And with the success state, you need to return this. So I will just go back here and return this stuff. So created a new item with the fetched item, so it will return the variable that I have. If not, in this case, what we need to do is we will just return grocery as well. Okay, so I will just get rid of this, and say grocery. So right now, what this function was doing was that if you had already an open grocery item list, it was going to return you that. If not, it was going to create a new one and send you the previous one. So what are we going to do now? We have a trouble here. You can see that if we have a run mutation, it might give an error. In this case, I want to return an error message and say, this one is my error message. And I shall return it according to the state object that I created, okay? So right now I have all of these items here, all of these actions here. So what I'm going to do now is I will go back here and see the trouble. And it is saying current grocery, this page is not imported. So I will just write const. Okay, so we did some changes. One thing that we are missing though is that, by the way, I need to get rid of this. One thing that we are missing, we did not call this function. So how do we call this function? You can call this function in any way. You can call it in the page. You can call it in the moment that you create the object. It's totally up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to call it in the init state here because, yeah, why not? So I will just say current grocery and fetch current groceries. Okay. So right now it seems like I did some stuff. So let's see if it's going to work. When we tested this out, we were using the macOS. So let's try to use it again. Oh, we are almost 20 people. Nice. Welcome, everyone. And let me rephrase what we are doing. What we do is we are refactoring an older version of the application, which doesn't use any state management into state management. In the meantime, we are learning about AWS Amplify and Flutter and answer your questions that you might ask. Okay, so you can see that this is working because it had fetched the correct item. So what I'm going to see is if I can add mouse and say 3, it actually successfully created it, but I do not see it. Do you know the reason? So if I restart it, actually, it is going to show me that. And the reason is that we do not have a local reference to this item. That is why we had the items earlier on to take care of these stuff for us. So what we are going to do is actually, we are going to have that items reference per se in our qubit, and that is the item that we are going to keep a reference to. So when we create an item, actually, we are going to be using it to save it into that as well. But overall, right now, the fetching mechanism works and everything is using the qubit. And the advantage of this state management is that, let me make this smaller and I will explain everything in detail, but let me make this tinier. The reason is that what we try to do is we try to get rid of everything related to the like AWS Amplify and so on out of our like UI elements. We want our UI to be dumb, like we don't want them to do any business logic in them. So in the current grocery list qubit, they can do whatever they want, but in the page they shouldn't do it. I wonder why it is using this. Let me check. Okay, it is using it to sign out. I'm also going to use this to like sign user out. Okay, and I'm just going to create a method here and say sign out, and that's it. So what I did here is that let me go to that page and reset. So what I did is I just used the qubit as my right hand man. So it is just going to do whatever it needs to do, and the rest of the things are basically the items that I created. The reason again that we do this is that we want to make our UIs dumber. We want to make our UIs to not have any reference to the data that they represent. They just need to read that data. So that is why we have removed it earlier on. In the last week, we have created like smaller widgets to take care of some parts of the UI like you see here. And what we do is we are trying to make everything more, like more modern. So right now we're in a position that we have a reference to the previous groceries. We can click on them and see the data that we have uploaded. And you can see that we have this error. Let's see the error. It says either the assertion indicates an error in the framework itself, or we should provide substantially more information about it. I don't know what's going on, so let's go back to the details. So this details is actually the page that gets the item that has been like clicked on. So you can see it over here as well. So what we are going to do is we are going to see the item and the details about it, and we will actually make some cleanup around this as well. So what I'm going to do is I will say your directory and say grocery details. Okay. This grocery details will have a reference to this, and this grocery details obviously will have what? Qubit. By the way, in the meantime, if you have any questions about Flutter, AWS Amplify, or overall like how you can refactor data, please like drop it as a comment, I will try to answer it as much as I can. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I will say previous grocery details, and it is going to create the qubit and every other stuff for me. So one thing that we do here is that we have the download data part of it. We have the part that we get the item and with the item ID. So we literally have everything that we need. So what we are going to do is first, let me make this big so everyone can read it. I don't know, like if it is too, like if you can't read it, just let me know. So one thing that I would like to get rid of is I would like to, where was this? I would like to get rid of this. I would like to get rid of this. I would like to get rid of this and this. So these are my important points to get rid of because I don't want to have a reference here about my item. So first things first, I will go back to my state and I will create the same logic, same state that we have in the other class as well. I will say extends Equitable here as well. And I will say props here and do this, copy this, paste it here. You might be asking, why do we repeat the same things? Why do we follow this pattern? One of the reasons that I love like block itself is actually it is predictable. Like when you do something, you're in full control of everything. So especially for a beginner, this is a perfect state management system because you will have some rules and people will follow those rules to actually create their application. Since it's really important, because when you have like newbies and like beginners, newcomers to the team, you want everyone to feel like they can actually contribute. So that is why you need to pick a system that should work for everyone, not just for one person. That is why we actually have these state management systems as well, because yes, you might not need all of this stuff in your applications, but at the same time, when you do, you are welcoming everyone from different backgrounds into your team to be able to work on the project better. Anyway, let's go back to the live coding. So like we did, we will have an error state, and the error state will have an error message. This error message will have the property, and we will just copy this and paste it here as well. Okay, and with the error, we will also have success state as well. The success state is important because we would like to return some data if we need to. So I will just say final grocery because we want to see the grocery item details. And I will just copy this, say this at grocery, and most importantly, I will just put this here and we are done. So now we have our states here. What we need to do is we need to port all of these stuff into into our application. One thing that you can realize is that it's not just about one state anymore. It is about multiple state. One of the important thing here is that we are defining some like rules like get download URL, for example, to get the download URL for the application, and we get a data out of the get download URL, which is provided to us by this function. So first things first, we will get this function and go back here to our qubit and paste it here. So this function is used to get the storage item that we have saved earlier on. This downloads the data and passes down the information as a URL to be shown. And also we have the fetch current grocery item, which is the item that we are going to be using to get the item that has been selected out of. Let me restart it because we have the UI problem, as you might remember. Okay, we need to fix this stuff first so we can call it. But it is from it is from the item that we have called from the previously saved grocery items. Okay, so I am here. You can see that I have the get download URL as well here. So this is also going to be called in our application, but it's all right. So one thing that I realized is that this item, I don't need it as an item, I guess. Let me check. I think the item ID should be enough. Now we have the item title, we have the amount spent here with the item finalization date, and actually we need all the stuff. So let's keep this one here for now. And what we need is we also need to copy this function as well. So I go back to my qubit and paste this here as well. And just import everything that I need. You can see that it is shouting me about some item ID. We will take care of it as well. So we have the word not null, which is the item that we are going to be using. And last but not least, we will say that, okay, string item ID, and this will be item ID. All right, so everything seems to be going according to the plan. Let's go back to here. So now we have this future builder here with an expanded. Probably this will be the problem for us. And we have the other stuff here as well. Why do I have it expanded inside the list view? I don't know. I made a mistake over there apparently. So see, we have fixed another issue. So one thing that we need to be sure about is that we need to show the items that has been bought. We are going to be showing them soon, but we cannot have a list view inside a list view. We will take care of that. And the another point is we are going to call this item. Actually, we already called this item. We are going to call these functions to get information about it. One thing that I do not understand is that why did we need this in the first place anyway? Because we already have an grocery reference to it. So I can just remove this, go back here. I can just get rid of everything that I have here. All right. Hold on. It is a future builder. Let me get rid of the future. It is this one here. I will just get this one out here, and I will just get rid of this because I don't even need it. Why would I have that? Hold on. I don't want to delete a lot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this is not going to be a list, but this is going to be a column, or not even a column. This is going to be a list of items here. I'm going to pass down these items per comment. So what, not comments, or per grocery item. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to say that grocery. Wait a second. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that and say widget. Why can't I? Okay, it's item dot grocery items dot map. All right. And what I'm going to do is I will just say this. This is going to be a tool list. One thing that is really important is that when you create an item, let me do this. So I can just fix this. Okay. One thing that is really important is that, let me check. Yeah, I will just add a 3 dot here. Widget cannot be assigned to widget. Okay, because it's known, I will just say size box to this for now. Okay, one thing that I would like to explain here is that we have already grocery items, and this 3 dot is the spread operator. What it does is that it gets the items from the list and adds it to the list that it's in. So it makes them part of the list that it's in. So what we are going to do is we are going to actually get this, okay, and put this one here, get rid of the return, and we will say that this is actually a grocery item. And you can see that we created a grocery item like we did before, and we do not need to create all the other stuff that we needed. And last thing that we need to take care of is the download URL. The download URL is required to get the image to be shown. And the nice thing about it is that we can use a block builder right in here just for this purpose. Or even better, we can create a brand new stateful function to show, what was it? Invoice view. Okay, so this is an invoice view that I created. It's just going to do the invoice stuff for us. And the nice thing is that this is going to create a new previous grocery details qubit equals previous grocery details qubit. So what it's going, again, why did we use late? Because we said use this only in the moment, sorry, initialize this only in the moment that you use them. And I will just say that init state, say previous grocery details qubit. I mean, when we think about it, we do not even need to take care of it, to be honest, like that. So what we are going to do is I will go up. I will say that this is going to be a list invoice view, and this invoice view is going to have file key, and the rest is just garbage. Okay, I'm here. I will just put this one here, and the key will be final string file key. Okay, this is the file key that we save our file to into the S3 bucket. So we are going to say that this is a required thing, this that file key, and I'm just going to use this widget that file key here, and I'm going to put this one here, and I will say file key here. Okay, everything seems to be in the right place. So one thing that we're missing is the block builder here. So I'm going to say block builder. Block builder is going to have a previous qubit, and it is going to have state object as well. So I'm here. I will just make it a bit more, hopefully more readable. If not, probably not. We are going to do a new thing. So we will say that if the state is previous qubit like success state, then we are going to be returning actually not the grocery, but the file URL. Okay, and this is going to be a file URL, and obviously this is going to be a file URL as well. So I go back and I will say return image.network here and say state that file URL. Okay, if there is an error, then we are going to show a text right in the place, because like we cannot truly center it because it's actually a list view that we're playing around with. So I'm just going to say center. Child will be having a text, and this text is going to be using the error message that is going to be returned. And last but not least, besides the success and error state, just return const center child circular progress indicator. Okay, so this is what we have prepared. Let's put this into action in here. First things first, you can see that this call starts from here. So I'm going to emit a new state called loading around here. Okay, and if it is successful, what I'm going to do is I will just get rid of this and say emit success state here. Sounds good, right? And we need to be mindful that we are not returning anything. So just to keep everything in place. And lastly, what we are going to do is, in case of an error, we will just say emit a message, but the message should be inside the error state. So I'm going to say previous grocery state that halts the error messages. Okay, now we can restart the application again. So you can see that everything is added here. And now, like if I go to the previous ones, I have these stuff. And it says, okay, good thing. The thing is, if we want to use a qubit or block builder, what we need to do is we need to add it into our application. So it should be previous grocery, something. So let's start. Now I click on phone, and you can see that I have this nice and beautiful image here. I can go back, I can go to the live stream, and you can see that I have this nice item as well. And all the errors that you have seen earlier on is gone. So I can actually go back to my main.dart and reset to 2 and 4. Get rid of this one as well. So we have added a new qubit around here. That's nice. And let's add one last qubit to this one. And besides that, we don't need a qubit at all. So what I'm going to do now is, you can see that I have the add grocery, finalize, etc. All the other things, they are either taking care of the authenticator UI or it's already there. So let's go back, create a new one. It is called previous grocery. Grocery list, actually. So this directory will keep this file here inside it, okay? And this, again, rule of thumb, we will get rid of Amplify related stuff, and we will push out everything that we use for this kind of stuff. So I'm creating a new qubit class again. We are doing previous groceries. Gonna enter, and once we add it, you can see that we actually have a qubit that is created for us, as well as the state object. So I have everything here, and if I go to my details qubit, I have many things that I don't use, so I will just get rid of everything that I don't use, and probably we will fix all of these later on from here as well. Okay, in the meantime, if you have any questions, one more time, if you have anything that you would like to ask, not just about this, but overall, like about programming, about Flutter, about AWS Amplify, about AWS, I'm here to answer your questions. This is one of the reasons that we have this live stream. All right. So what I would like to do is, I would like to get rid of this function and move that inside, guess what, to qubit. Also get rid of this and also import everything that we have here. So we took care of everything here, and we're returning something right now, but we don't want to. So I'm just going to say that this is a void thing. And this is just going to be there, but we are going to pass down that by using the block builder. Okay, the first thing that we are actually going to do is, like we did earlier on, we are going to add an equitable here. And equitable will be shouting to our faces here to add new props. In case you missed it earlier on, props is the variables that you have in your class, because other way around, the comparison of the objects doesn't happen according to the values that you have. They need to override a hashcode and equals property to be able to have the custom way of comparing to objects. Other way around, it will just compare the places on the memory and so on, and it will not be equal at all. So anyway, we have the loading state. Let's copy this. We have the error, and we will have the success. Error state, we'll have same thing, error message. You might be asking, why did you create the same error state plus everywhere? Why didn't you use the same one? I could, but as a rule of thumb, we shouldn't, because you might have, according to your application, you might need several different blocks in your UI that might be using the same state. So you do not want to have complications over that. We do not want that. So anyway, let's add a success here, and the success state will have list of groceries, and I will say groceries here. And what we need to do is we will add the groceries around here. And last but not least, do not forget to add your items inside the props to be able to compare the state properly. All right. Okay, so we got rid of everything. We have this feature builder here that we are going to be getting rid of soon as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something even different than I did earlier on. I will just comment out this because I feel like it is way more easier for me. First, I'm going to turn this into stateful widget. And I am going to say that late final previous groceries qubit. Okay, previous groceries qubit here will be equal to this one. In its state, we'll call previous groceries qubit to fetch the previous groceries, obviously. And last but not least, we will have the block builder, right? The block builder will have the previous groceries qubit, and it will have the previous groceries state. Okay, it will tell us, okay, you need to, like, add some stuff. You need to have the builder. We will take care of that. First things first, we will add the previous groceries qubit as the block of this, and we will add a builder here. We will add the builder like this, and we will say that again, if the state is successful, what we are going to do is we're going to show the items. So with the items, what we did is actually we have taken care of this. So I will just, not that one even, I will just go here, and you can see that we have the previous groceries, and it says if the items are like empty, then we are not just going to show anything at all. So let me first cut this, put this here, and do this, bring everything here, and we will just say state.groceries. So right now this is like working nice and so on, but it says you need to cover more ground. I know that I need to, but I would like to say one more thing. I would like to say that if the previous groceries is empty, then I would like to do a different UI. Other way around, I would like to show one more thing. So let's go down here. You can see that I have this function here, the widget here that I actually use. So I will just comment that out. And last but not least, I need to show this in the loading state. So, so if we will say that state is the, not here, sorry. If the state is a success, that's perfect. If the state is actually error, like we have talked about earlier on, we will show a text that actually shows the error. So state is as if, and this should be error message. And if it is the initial state, or if it's the loading state, then we are done. Then we are just like good to go. So let me restart this one. When I restart it, I click, you can see that it is in the loading state. So what did we miss? What is going on? I mean, can you tell me what's going on? I know the problem is, but I'm really curious about if you know the trouble. I will give you a couple of seconds, but in the meantime, I will start to build it. The problem is we do not emit any new state here. So it is, if we are going to have a loading state, it is going to be here. If we have success state, then it should let us know. So it says, if the item is like, if the response is not null, then that is the case. So what we can do is, we can say that if it is null, we are going to say this is an error state. So let's treat it like this. So I'm going to say that this is like final items, okay. And if items equals null, then we will emit an error state stating that something went wrong while fetching data. And even check out that if the response has an error that we can like send back. Otherwise, what we need to do is we will say that emit previous cursory state success and say that items like this. All right. So we already know that if it's not null, if it's null, we will treat it like that. All right. So we will go back to our state page. Sorry, exactly. And say that if, where was it? If the grocery items is empty or null. So what we need to do is we need to say that previous groceries, hold on. If it's error, then it's going to it's not going to be here anyway. Okay, this seems to be working fine. So let's restart the application. Let's see how it's going to look like. So I restarted it. It shows my previous items. It shows the previous groceries. If I click, it shows the correct information. So when we started off, we had 0 state management. Right now, you can see that each feature has a state management. So if we go back, we can see that we have added more qubits to work with as well. One thing, so we still keep the problem with the items. We are going to be fixing that right now. And we will play around with the application and fix the UI elements if we have any time left. So I want to get rid of this stuff in the meantime. Hi, hope you're doing well. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing well as well. What kind of application are you working on? Okay, so for the newcomers, for the new people who has not seen it, I just asked, I just closed the sharing screen. Let me go back. Share, perfect. So for the people who were not here in the earlier live streams or like who has not seen it, I have been doing these live streams for like, this is the third one that I've been doing, and let me get rid of this. So what we do is we are working on and shopping this application that I created, which is an open source project, which is on GitHub. And first we started off by fixing the problems of it by doing all the steps that we have shown, because I'm Saleh. I work, by the way, if you don't know me, I work with the AWS Amplify, and with the AWS Amplify, we actually announced support for web and desktop for our storage, analytics, and API libraries. And you can see that in this example here, we are showing the app that we worked on. But this app did not use any state management at all. And only resource to go through the items was this one. So what I do is I just go through everything in this video to fix it. In this like this is the third one. What I did is I just did refactoring. I got rid of many items that I did felt hacky. I added block state management to make it more granular, and actually use the apps in, like use the like more atomic widgets to make things better. So if I restart my application from scratch to show you how it looks like, let's see it. In the meantime, let me get water. Just a second. Okay, so you can see that the application started. We can even also log out. So the user can log in, create an account, and we have the forget password part. You can sign in. Once you sign in, you can see your current grocery items. You can see your previous grocery items. You can see the receipt or anything that you would like to update. Right now, I updated a photo of mine in Vegas, but you can have an item. Okay, this had an issue. We can go back, but let's check this out. You can see that we have this item around here. Why did this have an issue? Okay, it was a momentary issue. So you can see that technically this is a grocery item application that you can say that PC utilities, and you can say that this costs for example, $250. When you want to finalize this, it is going to ask you to add an image, and you can literally add any image that you want. I will just check out, for example, and add this one. And once it is added, this is something that we are going to fix, but if we restart the application, sorry about that, you can see that it actually removed the previous one. Why did and PC utilities, it is showing us the previous one. This was an issue from the earlier live stream. If you watch it, you can see that that was an issue with creating the list twice. That is why actually we have this twice grocery list creation issue. So we can add this and say bananas and say 23. And for the bananas, I can also add this as well. You can see that it has completed in some level, and bam, now we don't have any current groceries, so we can add them as well. So the live update we need to work on right now, and the twice grocery list creation issue that we have. Okay, I hope it explains it. So if you're ready, let's continue. So we got rid of the items property, which is really nice, but at the same time, it is not so nice because we actually need to, have a reference to the current items that we have. How we can fix it? We can fix it in different ways. One thing is we can actually, each time that we add something, we can actually ask for a new set of data as well, if it makes sense. Or we can keep a reference, again, like the local reference, and get that and keep it as our source of truth as well. So if I go to my current grocery page, let me close all the other tabs. Let me make it a bit smaller. I will make it bigger in a second. So our main items are this add grocery item view. And when the item is added, we only know that it is added to our backend, but for fetching the new data, we need to do something. So what we can do is we can say that fetch current grocery, and this is going to update everything. So I am going to do that for now, and this is going to do it as well. Let's see, let's check it out. So I restarted. You can see that I don't have anything. I will just add a new item called, I don't know, pencil. Let's call this 44. I added a new item. You can see that it added and actually called to get all the items. So this is one thing that we can do. It is going to work for now because the reason is that it's It's not a lot of data. It's going to be fun. But when there's a lot of data, then it will cause a trouble, because imagine that you need to query all the items each time that you add something. For fixing this, actually, you can keep your source of truth between the items, between pages, by using the repository pattern to keep the reference to the added objects from going offline first, like from going local first, offline first. But for now, let's keep it as it is. We can fix it at the very end. So right now we got rid of it, but what about when we finalize it? What about when we like finalize, not here, but here, finalize? What about when it's finalized? When it's finalized, we actually need to do the same as well. When it's finalized, this means that it is done. So the item that we are going to be having should be removed, and we should be creating a new one. So I will just say utilities and say 60 because it's really expensive, and say that downloads here, and just add a new image of me. And when it is uploaded, it is still uploading. It's a huge image. It didn't do anything. But if I restart, it will show an all item. And you can see that utilities is here with my, it is still fetching the image. You can see it is here with my image. Okay, so we couldn't fix it. Let's see how it would look like when it's finalized. When it's the finalization is called when actually it is successfully finalized. Why do you think that we are having this issue? Let's check it out. So I'm here and I am seeing it. Okay, we have the fraction completed. Hold on. So we have everything here when we are loading, and only emit the success when we have the new, when we actually finalize the grocery. And when it is finalized, we are calling this unfinalized, and this unfinalized should be called from here as well as here. Okay, and this should actually get me the current grocery, which is the one that we are calling here. Maybe we forgot to recall everything. So let's try this again one more time. So I'm going to add a new thing called, for example, microphone, and say 300. And microphone is added, and shopping, call it mics. And amount should be obviously 300. And with the finalized grocery, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another amplify item as well. But it is still not calling my item. This is interesting. Let's fix this. These kind of things, I really love it, because these are one of the things that I do during this live stream, by the way, is that I do not prepare earlier on for these. I'm just doing it so you can see my thought process as well. And these are really cool because it is showing that some things are not expected, and it is actually something that we need to deal with our day-to-day jobs as well. Okay, so when something is finalized, we are sure that this is getting called. So if this is getting called, what we need to do is we immediately need to see the loading state, but we do not see it at all. So what I need to do is I need to understand on finalized. Finalize this here or finalize it there. Finalized. Okay, this is a dialog one. If I go here on finalized, So I'm here. And we are calling the unfinalized on the case of the success here. Other way around, do we call it anywhere else? I don't think so. So we are finalizing the grocery here. We are saying loading, and when it's loaded, when it's success, we are going back and we are finalizing around here. So, however, I think what we are missing a point. We are missing a point about, like, for example, when it's done, how do we close it? How do we close the dialog as well? So let me check it out. So I can see my, like, everything here. I can see the items that I created earlier on here. So everything is working fine about these parts. So what we are going to do is we are going to add some breadcrumbs. So we will just say that print on finalized is called here. All right. I will go here. I will go down. And in this one, like, or this one, doesn't matter. We're calling on finalized. And on finalized is called after this. I would just say success state is called. I will even, no, I don't need to define this one here. And that should be it to at least understand if it's called. And okay, let's also add here that print is called print state is. All right, so let's see how it works. Okay, let's see if we can debug this a bit. All right, so I'm here again. And by the way, I want to be sure about, like, for example, I want to show that previous grocery is called, and I will just add this grocery here, and I will say new grocery is called, and it is grocery as well. So, okay, let's see. So now we started with everything, and you can see that fetch grocery is called, state is loading, and previous grocery is called. So it was already an opened up stuff. That sounds good. So what I need to do is I need to add a new item. I will just say tripod, okay, and I will call it $30. So I added a new item. It's saying that fetch current grocery is called, loading is fine, previous one is called with the, like, with literally anything, like we don't have anything about it. So what I need to do is I need to keep this, like, ID. So I'm not going to end anything. So I'm just going to say end shopping. I will say camera items, and I just need to have a 30 of these, and I'm just going to use the invoice that I have here. And you can see that the success state is not called at all. And that is the problem, because when we do not have the success state, how do we know that if it is on the, like, correct spot? So when the fraction is completed, like it is mentioned here, we do not have the success state. So that is a good thing. So you can see that we have the await upload file here when, and for the rest, we have these stuff to, like, update the groceries again. So I would like to see when I restart, if I still keep the reference of the same ID, same item. I'm checking this out. Things are getting loaded. No, it is a different one for sure. So I do not know what's going on here, to be honest. I'm just, by the way, is this feature? Yeah. Why don't we call await on this one? This is one thing. I want to also check out print file upload started. Okay. We will just say that mutation is done. And lastly, new grocery. Okay, so let's see what's going on around here as well. Let's see if these are called. Maybe we were missing this await here, so maybe it was a problem. So because we don't have the reference yet. So we have everything that we have here. So let's restart it. So I started it, and it is showing me sunflower seed from, again, like created probably from earlier on. I would just say eating material, all right, and call this 300. And I would just add a new receipt again. We will call, for example, this one is a receipt. So like file upload started, mutation is done, new grocery is done. So we need to be able to see actually the success state getting called. Why it's not getting called. I have this one here. I have the block consumer around here as well. The listener is not getting called. So I'm just going to check out if the state has changed for this one at all. State. Other state here. Okay. And we are starting a new one. This grocery, it says something, something. I will just say monitor here. And I will say two. I have two monitors. Okay. And say monitors and 100. Get the item, get the invoice, choose the invoice. So it says mutation is done. The loading state is also given, but the state is not given here at all. So let's go back to here. Finalize grocery view. Success. This is so interesting. This seems like, I mean, normally we should be able to actually emit this state. I don't know what's going on that we cannot, because we already passed this and we are doing a mutation and so on. So in this case, we wouldn't be able to, like have this trouble. All right. So it is keeping the new grocery mutation is done, and it's like finalized. It is actually, is it just showing it because we are giving this as a success? Why, like, where do we use this success state besides this? We don't use it anywhere else at all. So what I would like to do is, but this should actually change as well. Anyway, I don't want to take much time of yours about this one, so we will just go back and add this and say we got rid of the items, but we need to why the state change is not shown. If you know it as well, it would be great to hear from you too. So right now, earlier on, we had this problem. Okay, like we needed to get like this pause, this finalized grocery view qubit, but we could not. Actually, this is the problematic part again, because of the problem that it had earlier on. So what we need to do next is actually in the next live stream, we will do the tiny cleanups, because I'm like already 15 minutes over my time, but it would be great to still, like right now, mainly we are done with the state management. So whoever who has watched that all along the way, if you learn something, that's something fantastic. We just need to do fine tuning, like 20-30 minutes. Then we will do a nice UI revamp. So we will make a nice UI out of our grocery list. I'm planning to do the next live stream on Thursday. So Thursday evening, join me for making a new UI, fixing the latest problems and actually having a nice app before we sign off for. No, actually, I will do another live stream on Friday as well. So 2 days in a row, we will do live streams. So please join me to create a new beautiful application together. And at the end, I will share all of these code over GitHub. So thank you very much one more time for joining me here. The videos will be all over Twitch and YouTube. And I hope to meet you and see you on Thursday. By the way, tomorrow, join us for Humpty Q&A over Flutter Community YouTube channel. We will also answer your questions over there as well. So take care, okay? Bye-bye.